only means one thing. It's time for the
Recess
Table!
Recess!
Yes, sir! So we're back in business, and as said in the first episode, we're not joined today by Stan, who's in Boracay right now, as well as Anton, who's in the States.
Yeah.
But shout out to them. Much love to our colleagues and teammates as well. So right now, we're going to break down for you the Western Conference. So before anything else, we'd like to introduce ourselves. I'm Jan Bicklin at Jan Drizzy.
I am Mark Esperas. Follow me on Twitter at xpacpahug.
I'm Dustin Chong. Follow me at Dustin Dustus.
Alright, so initial thoughts about the very wild, wild west.
It's going to be really wild.
Don't you have any other adjective aside from wild, crazy?
I think it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be like Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble. It's going to be like, parang, it was ball game. You're number 1 seed, you're the number 8 seed. No one's safe.
Everyone can win. I agree.
What are you looking forward to in particular? Is there any matchup that you're looking?
Well, I'm looking forward to the Spurs-Clippers matchup because I think that's pretty even, and the Dallas and Houston series.
Yeah. Wow, those are actually good. If there's anything similar between those teams, they're the triangle of Texas, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So actually there's a lot of storylines in the West. Can the Spurs win back to back?
Yes.
Can the Rockets actually win? With an injury-riddled season. Can the Clippers finally go over that hump? Move past the semis. Chris Paul hasn't been all the way to the conference finals.
Since his last was
No, he never went. Even in his best
But
year.
di ba nung number 2 seed sila, they
akala ko
advanced
na nag-advance sila.
No, Dallas is Spurs.
Okay.
Well, also, what about even Golden State, who's actually very surprised all of us. Let's be honest. And also, new storyline here. We're welcoming the
Welcome to the playoffs.
Yeah.
The playoffs.
So with that said, we'll start already with the Golden State and New Orleans Pelicans series. We were talking about that. It's the welcoming for Anthony Davis. So what do you see going? What will happen in that series? What fans can expect?
Hindi ko lang sure if it's going to be a series na magiging dikit, pero I'm pretty sure it's going to be a fun series. Like Steph Curry, Drew Holiday, Tyreek Evans, Klay Thompson, Anthony Davis. It's gonna be a show. It's really gonna be a show. Pero yung tanong na nga dyan, it's how the Pelicans, being the last team to go to the playoffs, can they step up their game? Can they, keep up to Golden State's pace?
Off tangent. Before I ask your opinion about that, what do you think about if you were the Golden State Warriors, would you rather have the Thunder or would you rather have the Pelicans?
Well, if I was the Warriors, I would rather have the Pelicans because based on the past years, the Warriors have a hard time with the Thunder. With this team, I think they really need to contain Anthony Davis. If they do that, I think the Warriors will win the series.
For me, I brought that up because I felt that I actually might prefer to have the OKC Thunder.
Okay.
Probably because it's more predictable. I already know what's going to come out of Russell Westbrook. It's the he's the head of the snake, diba? He's the one that keeps the engine running. At the same time, they may be deep, but it felt like they spent all their energy chasing for that number 8 spot.
Yeah.
So there
Yeah.
might not be anything left come the playoffs, diba? So it's outside of for the Pelicans, there's a lot of question marks, diba? But I don't know what Anthony Davis beast mode looks like in the playoffs, diba? When the stakes are higher, when the pressure is Drew Holiday is coming back a little bit healthier.
Yeah.
You have Tyreek Evans who's actually balling, shout out to Tyreek.
Yeah.
First playoffs as well. Diba? So, with that said, I'd give a couple of games to Pelicans actually. I'm 100% sure they won't win. I think that they'll have difficulty in chasing around the guards, but at the same time, Golden State might not be able to match up with their big
Yeah,
men,
the
di
big
ba?
man, yeah.
With,
Davis, Zeke.
ikaw, what do you you're siguro kahit give a summary and then you can put a call for this series for you.
Oh, I think I see how the Pelicans right now are. I can compare them to how OKC was when they first went to the playoffs in 2010
Against the Lakers.
against the Lakers. Yeah, so parang when you look at it, it's they're a young team. It's the first time they've been in the playoffs, like the core, and then they're facing a team that's has been really good. Although Golden State hasn't really been a championship caliber team yet because they haven't really won anything. But I think they're gonna give the Lakers, they're gonna give the Warriors a hard time. So I think maybe the Warriors in six.
I think it's Warriors in five. I'd give one game to the Pelicans.
Well, gusto ko sabihin, Pelicans have nothing to lose, so they just play their heart out. Malay mo, they steal a couple of games, so maybe Warriors in six.
Alright, so we're moving on to number 2, Houston, and number 7, Dallas. So we're a Texas matchup right here. So Dustin, what do you think about this series?
This series will really all come down to what James Harden can do. If he can keep on scoring all over in maybe 6 games in the series to close it out, because they're all banged up. Montezumas is out, Beverly's out.
Kahit si ano rin eh, si
Greek,
Greek Papa Nicolau.
yeah, he's out.
Diba?
Then
Even back then, I think even
Yeah.
even
Dwight's a little bit banged up.
Who's their backup center? Capella, diba?
Yeah,
So
Capella.
diba, that's a rookie.
That's a rookie. Eh.
Dorsey.
Dorsey.
Dorsey,
Okay,
of course.
fine.
So I think that it will all come down to James Harden if they advance to the second round.
Well, sa akin, I'm leaning towards Dallas. I think they can control or stop James Harden.
Okay.
James Harden isn't going to drop. In a 7-game series, when you have more time to assess your opponent, to review the play-by-play, you break it down to the coach. And Rick Carla, he's not gonna give him some slack, diba? He's gonna make sure that defense will be there. They're not healthy as well. Parsons might be a big
Yeah.
piece to that equation. So
Hey, by the way,
the-
Parsons gonna face his former team.
yeah, exactly. So more motivation. It's like Joe Johnson against Atlanta, diba? So I think it's gonna be interesting because I think both teams play an exciting brand of
Of
basketball.
course.
Go ahead.
Parang when you look at it, Dallas has the more tools eh. Like, they have Rondo, Ellis, Dirk, Parsons, Chandler, even their bench, they have Amari and Devin Harris. But I'm not saying that Houston doesn't. Houston also has a strong team. They have Dwight, James Harden, Ariza, Josh Smith. I think it's a matter of how how they adjust to each other's game, and maybe Houston had maybe had a better record during the regular season, but you also can't count out Dallas's championship experience. Dirk, Chandler, Rondo, they've all won rings, right? So, and you saw last year with Dallas, they
Push to the limit.
they pushed Spurs to a game 7. So let's see. But Houston, I think they've got my MVP for this year, James Harden, and
I would
Dwight
agree,
Howard.
I would agree.
Dwight Howard, he's still a force to reckon with. Even though he may have all those injuries the past couple of years, you can't tell. Maybe I'll go Houston in 7.
Oh, baka Dallas ako in 7.
Dallas is 6.
Right. So, that said, MVP conversation aside, I think there's also one MVP that we're sleeping from the conversation, That's Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Or even to a certain extent, second half MVP, Kawhi Leonard, diba? So we'll move on to the number 3 LA Clippers against the number 6 seeded San Antonio Spurs.
Spurs!
State Farm!
Left on!
So, I don't know. Kayo ba, this is like one of the most heavyweight first round series we have seen in that was decided in the last day of the season. Ikaw ba, X-Pac, what are you looking forward to this series?
Ako, kung sabi ko kanina ba Wild Wild West, ito yung
Oh,
ito
yeah.
yung pinaka-wild part ng West. The Clippers versus the Spurs. You know, both teams were actually preseason title favorites.
Yeah.
Maybe top three, especially the Spurs since they're the defending champions and they haven't really lost anyone from last year, diba? So, you know, as what Rudy Tomjanovich said when they won back to back, never underestimate the heart of a champion. But you know, the Clippers, they're pretty strong as well. You know, they've got Chris Paul, like an MVP candidate, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan, who I think has had a crazy season. You know, 11-15 is not really a joke.
Ikaw ba? Dust.
Well, syempre, of course, guys, sabi ng Xbox, this will be a wild series. Both teams are title contenders. So, it'll all come down to who wants it more. But for me, I think maybe the Clippers will make it through the next round because it's really hard to win an NBA championship back to back. And maybe the old legs of the Spurs will give out, dunk on his knees.
Knock on wood, knock on wood, knock on wood.
But just kidding. But of course, maybe the Clippers will go through the next round.
By the way, we're joined actually here, taping behind the camera is Samson, a huge
Yeah.
Spurs fan. So,
Go
represent.
Spurs, go!
So, yeah, on my side, I just like to tell a quick anecdote. I actually joined the conference call with TNT's Kenny Smith and Charles Barkley, and this was brought up to their attention. And they talked. Charles Barkley mentioned two things about in the playoffs. There's two kinds of teams. There's teams that you don't want to face in the playoffs, and teams that you know on a good day, if you play well, you'll still beat
Yeah.
them, even if they're going to be a tough test for you. So I think the Spurs are fall under the category as teams you don't want to face. You know, they're peaking at the right time, everything's clicking. Aside from Thiago Splitter, everyone
they're
seems to be
yeah.
healthy, diba? So I think at the same time though, there's also teams that I think also Clippers are also a team that you don't want to face. You know, because there's two ways of winning it. It's either you win by the shooters, diba? Shooting and everything, which I would categorize the Spurs with. And at the same time, winning by, putting people in the foul line, slowing the games down, controlling the
That's
tempo,
the Clippers.
grind it out kind of type, which is actually more difficult to beat, diba? It's similar to Memphis, which we'll touch on later. With that said, I think that it's rites of passage. Clippers has to go through the champs, diba? You have to slay the champs to become the champions. Not saying that they're favorites or whatsoever. Favorites might be the Spurs, given the but I just think that Chris Paul looks like he's fed up. It might be the time that he gives to make up from last year's that crucial last turnovers between the OKC Thunder. So I might give the edge to them. I might give this to Clippers in 7. But I wouldn't be surprised if the defending champs, would still move on.
Ako naman, well, when you look at it, the Spurs right now are the number 6 seed, and the last time a number 6 seed went to the final, actually won the championship was the
Houston, diba?
95 Houston Rockets, which was also
The back-to-back.
their back-to-back, their second ring, and their second championship in 2 years. So, maybe we can see the parallelism between those two. And when you look at it, the Spurs, they've got everything, and like what we said, they're peaking at the right time. I think they've won 12 straight before they lost the last game to the Pelicans, and it's the seedings are just I think formality, but when you look at it, the Spurs are really, for me, the still the favorites. So I might have to go Spurs in 6.
Well, for me, I'll start. I think the Clippers will win in 7, but I won't be surprised if the Spurs won it. But
So we're on the
because
same page.
yeah, we're on the same page. Because for me, I think Chris Paul deserves to move on to a Western Conference Finals,
Yep.
and I think this is the year that they need to do it. DeAndre's a free agent. JJ's gonna be a free agent next year. I think they have all the pieces to move on to the next round this year. So I think they're gonna win this series.
Speaking of free agents, we move on to Memphis, who also has a free agent of their own, Mark Gasol, and they'll be suited as the number 5 seed against the number 4 seed Portland. However, given that they have the better home record, they're going to have home court advantage for this series. And let's put the obvious aside already. Portland's banged up.
Yeah.
Batum isn't. I don't know if Batum will be there.
Yeah.
Aflalo's shoulder still hurting. He might miss a few games or so.
Yeah.
CJ McCollum just
Yeah.
sprained his ankle. There's an injury bug this year as compared to last year for Rip City.
Yeah.
With that said, what can fans look forward to for this series?
Oh, when you know at it, both teams are really hardworking. Both teams, play with a style that I think that their fans really love. Like their city really loves them. Portland loves their Blazers. Memphis really loves their Grizzlies. They've got a balance between their starters. For Memphis, they've got Gasol, Randolph, Conley. In Portland, they've got Lillard, Aldridge, Batum. Pero like with what we said, Portland. Well, number one, they don't have home court advantage, and number two, they're pretty banged up. But I think that you can't doubt Portland because number one, they've got Damian Lillard, and number two, they've got DeMarcus Aldridge. You can't count those two out. And like what we've seen in the playoffs last year, those two were pretty crazy.
Yeah, I would agree. Actually for me, I love the Grindhouse. Let's get that out there. I think their style works. They may have been slumping recently, with a couple of injuries to Tony Allen and Mike Conley, but I feel that their style is suited for the playoffs. If you're trying to make stops, they can do it. If you need to score, their offense flows pretty well with Mark Gasol scoring more aggressive right now. I think it will just fall also if kung kaya sumabay ng Portland, all throughout. If it's going to be close, or if it's going to be like just 10 points and then there's like 3 minutes left, what time is it? It's daytime, if it's going to be clutch city, if I think he has enough fires. I just don't know if there will be enough opportunities for him to suddenly suit up and Mr. Clutch all of a sudden for Damian Lillard. Ikaw ba das?
Yeah, basta for me, if Portland really wants to win the series, I think Lillard and Aldridge need to step up their game. Siyempre nga, Aflalo's out, Batum's banged up, so those two superstars need to elevate their game to win the series. But of course, Memphis, Grindhouse, they're too tough to beat.
Yeah. So I guess let's give our predictions for this series. Ako, to start off, I think it's going to be Memphis in 5 because I think it might be too difficult for Portland to para sumabay sila all throughout it.
Ako siguro maybe I'll give Portland 2 games. So Memphis in 6.
Actually, if the Blazers were healthy, I would have picked this differently.
Yeah,
I love the Blazers.
Definitely.
Big fans of Elme and Batum, but I'll
Realistically
realistically
speaking, yeah.
Grizzlies in 5. Sorry, Batum. Sorry.
Alright, so there you go. We got our Eastern Conference. Now you got your Western Conference. We'll be looking forward to see you in the playoffs. If you've got thoughts, you've got questions, feel free to tweet us at the Recess Table, as well as our personal accounts. So at Jan Drizzy.
At X-Pac Bahag.
At Dustin, Dust.
Thank you for tuning in. See you next time.
Thank you.